The MILF archetype is one of the most in-demand archetypes and most missed opportunities in the industry. This one gets thrown around a lot, but let's be clear on what it actually is. MILF isn't just about being older, mature. It is about energy, confidence, and experience. Think like central authority, and sometimes a touch of the illicit, especially if you lean into the stepmom angle, which can be a highly effective niche to target. It's that grown woman vibe that says, I know what I'm doing, I've done it before, and I'm going to make sure you enjoy it. Now, you do not need to have kids to embody this archetype. A mentee asked me this recently, because cougar, aka the attractive older woman, is basically the same thing when it comes to marketing, just without the kids. Now, a lot of the mentees I work with, if they're in the mature category, they tend to shy away from their age, and honestly, it's such a shame, because this is one of the most desirable niches out there, and clients really will pay a lot for it. Your muse, if you're in this category, I've said it before, is Stifler's mum. Now, what does she wear? Skirt and blouse, tight raunchy dresses. She's always that perfect mix of classy meets slutty, and she just oozes the confidence to pull it off. I wish I had that type of confidence. This archetype works because of the fantasy it taps into. For younger clients, it's the thrill of being seduced by an older, more experienced woman, and for older clients, it's the comfort of being with someone who gets them and knows how to handle a man. But be intentional with this energy, because you want to be in control but still warm. So seductive but nurturing, because at the end of the day, we're running a business based on care. And above all, ultimately, it needs to feel believable. This archetype honestly works best when it's natural, which is why it's such a great fit for women over 40, because they often embody all of this without even trying due to their life experience. Now, here are some shots from a recent MILF shoot we did. My client's over 40, she looks phenomenal. And when I direct these kinds of shoots, I usually lean slightly more into the raunchy. So I'll tap into the raw sexuality of a confident grown woman, because it's what sells. Most workers focus on making the booking experience amazing, which is a great idea. But the location logistics can make or break whether the booking even happens at all too. So one of my mentees just hit consistent 20K months, and her first move was to secure a full-time in-call space. And here is what I teach when choosing the best in-call location. Number one is proximity to a central hub. So you don't need to be inside the CBD. In fact, I think nowadays it's often better to be just outside it, because you've got so many clients working remotely or coming from residential areas. You want to be close enough to be convenient and closer to a larger pool of people, but not stuck in the chaos of city congestion. Number two is parking access. This matters more than you think. Even a nearby paid parking lot is a win. Clients do not want to circle the block for 20 minutes or risk a fine, so make it easy for them to arrive and leave. Number three is ease of access. Now, my ideal setup is actually a private apartment building with an intercom. No concierge, no front desk, so you avoid awkward "I'm here to see" moments. The client should be able to buzz, enter, and come up. The smoother the entry, the more relaxed the client will be when he arrives. Number four, discretion. Many clients choose independence over parlors purely for privacy. So choose a nondescript building, somewhere that looks like it could be a regular apartment, maybe an office, a studio, you might be in a business hub. Clients want plausible deniability, so just give it to them. And then bonus tip, give step-by-step arrival instructions. And I really do mean step-by-step. So I will tell clients the exact name of the building, what it looks like, where to find the intercom, the exact buttons to press. I do not assume that they'll figure it out just because it's the apartment number. Like sometimes the ring button looks different in different buildings. I'll tell them exactly where to walk inside once they're here to find the lift. Sometimes it's not immediately obvious. I'll tell them which floor to come up to, which direction to turn when they come out of the lift, how many doors down my apartment is, even like exactly how to knock like 3 times when they get to the door. And I do this because clients are understandably a little or a lot nervous, and clear, detailed instructions will really lower anxiety, and it will help set the tone for a smoother experience. Now, if something does go wrong, you want to let them know in advance to call you, or you want to call them if it becomes clear that something's up. Do not waste 15 minutes texting. When logistics are clear, clients will feel safe. And when they feel safe, they're going to show up on time, which is better for you as a business owner because you might have back-to-back appointments. They're going to be relaxed, which means that you're going to be able to get into the experience and achieve all the important points in the booking more easily, and just overall have a more genuinely enjoyable time. And when you create this type of ease, that client is going to remember it and want to come back to you again, because he knows not only, hopefully, is the experience in the room great, but getting there, how it unfolds is really easy. And if something goes wrong, she's not going to just like text me angrily, "Where are you?" then cut my time when I arrive because I couldn't find her. She's going to call me and guide me through it. Like, just think about how you would like to be treated and then do that. I just got done sorting through some photos from a recent GFE photo shoot of a student of mine, and she absolutely nailed it. And it got me thinking about, what does it take to really nail a photo shoot? And when I say nail, I mean ultimately the purpose of a photo shoot is to profit as much as possible and to attract better, high quality clients, to keep clients coming in the door. And really, it all comes down to the action before for the photo shoot. You want to develop an attitude of persistence and consistency. And that is something that this student of mine does really well, as well learning and iterating based on your experiences. So the first photo shoot we did was the classic GFE style shoot, which always works, is always successful. But then what we did was we learned from the type of client she was getting, the type of booking she was getting, to make this second photo shoot even stronger. And so an element that we dropped in there that we hadn't done in the first shoot was we made this second shoot more interactive in the GFE type vibe. So the way clients think when they're making a booking, particularly with the GFE, is that they want the feeling of natural intimacy. And so what I often do in photo shoots is I want the look to unfold as if actual intimacy was unfolding in a natural, normal way. And that is why I do not like photo shoots in mansions, on boats, on motorbikes, outdoors, because the typical person doesn't experience intimacy that way. The typical person experiences it alone in a living room, in the bedroom, on the kitchen table. That's where this stuff actually happens. And so we built on that in this second photo shoot. But what we also added was some elements of, if you were hanging out with a girl who you really liked, like basically on a date, what might you be doing where we can still have her looking hot and provocative, which is ultimately also really important. And so we incorporated a couple of different looks. We incorporated these photos of her on a pool table doing some action shots. Obviously, you still need to look sexy. It's not like you're just hanging out with the guys, but think about if you're actually going on a date with a guy that you liked. The second thing we did was she started offering a special service category, which included striptease and lap dance. And so we actually got some shots of her in action doing these things to include on the profile. So what you want to do is not just take photos to make you look good. You actually want to be purposeful about them and prep in advance and plan, thinking about and having the client's perspective and experience in mind. Let's break down another industry archetype, the college chick, 18 plus. Now, when I started in industry, I was 18. I had braces, a baby face. I actually looked probably like 16. And growing up, I totally hated it. I was always the youngest person in the room because I started school early and then I skipped a year. So I was like at least 2 years younger than all of my peers. I constantly felt like people looked down at me like I wasn't taken seriously. But then everything changed because at 18 in a brothel, my age became an asset. I remember on my first shift asking one of the girls, how old should I say I am? Like I thought I should lie, like make myself older. She looked at me and she was like, well, how old are you? And I said 18 and she lit up. She was like, say that. That's amazing. I've been lying about my age for years. Now, this archetype might attract some controversy, but regardless of your personal opinion, the legal age for sexual consent in my country and in most is 18. If this archetype is a fit for you, it's usually because you are young or you look young. I made the most of it while it lasted and it worked. Now, the best outfits for it are classic schoolgirl, mini skirts, crop tops, little pigtails. In the brothel I worked in, I used to wear really simple cotton-on style lingerie. It was basic. It just looked like a girly underwear that you would wear. Clients loved it. But more important than how you look is your energy. That carefree, playful, sparkly vibe, that is the goal. It's about making someone feel young again, like their crush just walked in the room, like they've got endless energy, no responsibilities. This archetype works because it taps into that feeling, that fantasy of youth, which comes with excitement and most importantly, lightness. So if you're going to market yourself this way, you want to understand the why. Behind every sale in every industry is a pain. Sales is about solving problems. So clients who book this archetype, they usually want to feel young again. That's often why older clientele are drawn to this archetype, and you might think that's gross, fair enough, but that's the psychology. It's not really about you being 18. It's about them remembering who they were around that age. The fantasy of feeling like radiant, alive, full of desire, possibility. And if that's what you represent to them, then they'll pay for that feeling. It's about awakening in them the good old years. That's really what this archetype is about. Here are the 3 marketing funnels every industry worker should be using to get more bookings. Most businesses have marketing strategies, but in our world, most workers are flying blind because our work isn't legitimized. So we often don't get taught how to market at all, let alone how to do it professionally and with discretion, which is important in this job. But here's the truth. If you want consistent income, you need a real marketing strategy. Now, aside from advertising platforms, which you absolutely should be using and maximizing, outside of that, I rely on 3 core marketing funnels, and each one is designed to convert a different type of client. Let me break them down. The first one is the recontact funnel, and this is for clients who have already booked you. The goal is to bring them back and have them spend more. And the reason you want to start here is because these are your warmest leads. They're clients who have already said yes. They know what you're like because they've met you. You don't have to build trust from scratch. And best of all, repeat clients is what stabilizes your income. So if you want consistent financial months, then you need to start here. Number 2 is email marketing funnel. This one targets previous inquirers, people who reach reached out but never converted. They didn't book. These are what you'd call your warm or lukewarm leads. They were interested enough to message you and interested enough in the service to go looking for it, but something got in the way. It might have been nerves, timing, price, anything. Email gives you a direct way to keep that connection alive. And when you do it well, it will turn maybes into yeses. And then number 3 is the social media funnel. This one is for cold traffic. Men who have never heard of you before. They weren't searching for you. They maybe weren't even actually looking for this kind of experience. Now, social media is the slowest and definitely the most complex funnel to master. But when it's done right, it builds brand awareness. It will build long-term authority. That said, I don't recommend that you do it in the early stages. If you're still building your business, then you want to start with what's easiest. And that's always your existing clients. Repeat bookings are your lowest hanging fruit. They take the least energy and they bring the most finances and stability in the immediate term. So if you're not sure where to begin, start with who already said yes, then work your way outward. If you aren't using a newsletter to turn past inquiries into future bookings, you are leaving serious money on the table. Now, I occasionally see usually veteran workers with newsletters. Clients can subscribe, updates get sent, but most of the time, the potential of that strategy is completely wasted because the typical topics that I see in client mailings are things like tour schedules, new photo drops, fake dinner dates, because that's what they're trying to attract. So they post photos of them with their friends actually, and monthly specials. Now, while those aren't bad, they're not exactly magnetic. In marketing, we say it takes 13 exposures to build trust. Trust is the foundation of selling, and desire is another part. A strong newsletter needs to build both. Right now, I'm working with several of my mentees to completely rework their approach to email marketing, and this is what we need to focus on. It's value. Not what you think is valuable, but what your client thinks is valuable. So your dinner with a friend poses a date, clients don't care. Your tour dates, sure, but that's logistics, not really intrigue. What a client wants to know is, what can this woman do for me? And a great newsletter answers that. One of my favorite formats is story-based education, like how to have a truly incredible date with a worker. That kind of email speaks to the guy who's never booked and to the guy who has but had a disappointing experience, which is almost all of them. You tell the story and you let him picture himself inside the moment. You build the desire and you do not need to push for the sale. You actually only need to mention actually booking you like once, usually at the end, and you let the story do the rest. Pro tip, visuals help. 1 or 2 killer, super hot photos per newsletter, that's it. And then what you want to do is email consistently. Trust does not come from one-hit wonders. It comes from repeated exposure. Remember, 13. When done well, a newsletter becomes your number 1 tool to convert cold leads into warm paid bookings. But only if you stop making it about yourself and start making it about the client. BBW, Big Beautiful Woman, is one of the most under-recognized archetypes in the industry. One of my BBW mentees lands $30,000 bookings. Yes, you heard that right. There is serious money in this category. Now, it might be a smaller niche, but it's also way less saturated. And even fewer workers do it well. So if this is you, then lean in because the opportunity is real. First, you want to understand the psychology behind it. Clients who are drawn to this archetype, they love the physicality of a voluptuous woman. The curves, the softness, it signals femininity to them, so you need to showcase it. Put your best foot and of course your best figure forward by creating that hourglass silhouette. You want to use corsets, belts, tight figure hugging dresses. Highlight your assets. You want overflowing cleavage, full hips, a big, beautiful butt. And when I market this archetype, like all others, I go deep into the client mindset. And one place clients are brutally honest is Reddit. Over and over again, men describe BBWs as pleasing, warm, inviting, nurturing, curious. They associate the BBW woman with emotional generosity and sexual openness. So you want to speak to that. Your copy, your bio should feel soft, explorative, comforting, but also still provocative. Position yourself as a woman who makes him feel wanted, who makes him feel desirable, and who genuinely enjoys herself. Because that is what this client archetype is craving. It is not just about size. It's about knowing the problem you're actually solving, the pain you're soothing. And for this target market, that pain is often about not being cared for, about going without softness, attention, intimacy. And somewhere along the way, they've associated BBW providers with the answer. So don't shrink away from it, lean into it. Let's talk about how we can use modern technology like AI to actually make more money. The first place you want to look is in time management and focus, because where focus goes, energy flows. And when you're self-employed, it is so easy to get distracted. There's no boss, there's no clock in, there's no one checking if you did the thing that you were meant to do. And that is exactly why most workers stay stuck. But the most successful ones, like my mentee who made $68,000 last month in just 30 days, they're not necessarily the prettiest, they're not the wildest in the room, room, they are the most organized. They simply do the things that matter every single day. They respond to inquiries and they take bookings, and they do not waste time overthinking the rest. So if you want to get more consistent, then I recommend you use AI to help you keep your focus tight. So I just asked ChatGPT to recommend 2 tools for these purposes, and here is what it suggested. Number 1 was Motion. Apparently it plans your entire day based on your tasks and priorities. You just tell it what's most important and it will build the schedule for you. Then you just have to stick to it. And then number 2 is Centered. It's a focus app that uses AI to keep you in deep work mode. It actually tracks distractions and then gently nudges you back when your brain starts to wander. So start using tools like these and you'll stop spinning your wheels. Success in this job isn't about doing more. It is always about doing more of the right thing and cutting everything else. The service-based provider is one of the most flexible yet misunderstood archetypes in this industry. Let's break it down. It's really broad because anything basically can fall under it. You got massage, kink, BDSM, even oral-only offerings, which I've seen done very profitably. Now, what defines this archetype is that it's about the service first and the provider second. It is a perfect fit if you're deeply drawn to a specific service or if you don't want to offer full service. It also makes a great fallback option if none of the other 6 archetypes I referenced in other videos feel like you, because this is one category anyone can enter regardless of look, age, or anything else, especially with massage because it is wildly popular. Now, I don't work in kink or BDSM myself and never have done, but for those who do, it's a niche with a huge variety of offerings. If you're curious about it, then professional dungeons might be a good place to start. Kind of like a you learn from being around others. That said, I can't speak from experience there because I've never actually done that kind of work. Now, I do work with a lot of DOMs who have hit a financial ceiling and want to transition into full service to grow. But let's talk about the space I do know best, which is massage. It is insanely in demand. And I think part of the reason is psychological. It feels better to some clients, more therapeutic, more innocent, more acceptable, even though it often includes intimate acts anyway. And even if they go all the way, for some reason for them, it feels like they're not seeing a workout. It feels like just getting a massage. And look, I guess that perception makes it incredibly powerful. Now, when I help market this category, I focus on creating a point of difference because the truth is most massage ads are missing the spark. They rely on lingerie photos and really not much else. But even if your customer is coming for the service, they're still emotionally craving intimacy. They want connection. They want an escape. So to stand out, I recommend you do 2 things. Number 1 is pick a sub-service to specialize in. Something sensual, unique, forgettable. For example, one of them is edging. And then number 2, reinforce you as a provider that they will feel close to. So make it personal, provocative, make it about the experience. Because yes, they're paying for a service, but what keeps them coming back and spending the most is, as always, the way you make them feel.
I am kind of more on the thicker side. That's kind of why I like the outfit to cover my belly. It's like this sparkly red one piece, but I did get it off Shein. So I'm I don't really have 2-piece lingerie set because they don't really hide my stomach.
Well, what's really important is that you feel good about your body in the photos while also being mindful of what men find attractive. So the suggestion that I had about the underwear is simply because we're going for more of a girl next door sort of outfit. The girl next door doesn't wear specific outfits because it's a outfit, right? But you can certainly wear girl next door type outfits that you feel comfortable in. So instead of doing lingerie, what you can do is do a singlet with a push-up bra underneath and boy shorts, because a girl next door would be with her boyfriend at home in that kind of outfit. And you can also be mindful of posing your body in a way that you feel emphasizes your figure best. And then lastly, you can always do light editing. You don't want to turn yourself from one size into a completely different person, but you can do tweaks that emphasize your best assets in a picture.
Yeah, I'm excited about trying the tank top and the booty boxer shorts.
Yeah. And just keep that in mind for all of the outfits that we planned, right? Is ultimately you feeling good about your body really, really matters because that will come across in the photo and clients will ask you to wear these outfits. So let's not put something we don't want to wear. It's I hated wearing stockings because my legs. So I didn't have any photos of stockings. And then when clients asked, I'd be so annoying. But just keep in mind, any outfit that I've suggested, all that we're trying to communicate is I'm like a normal, natural girl next door. And so just think, what variation can I wear of this thing that feels girl next door, that I'm comfortable wearing and that I feel like I look good in? So it's okay to make changes to it.
They had a service option that included photos and filming, amongst other things. And then they would say at some point before the booking, just wanting to check, are you wanting to do the photos and filming? And if the client said yes, then they would send this message. My favorite naughty moments to capture are, and then this person only wanted to do specific things. So I told them to put those things only in here. Please don't be offended if there's something you suggest and I recommend an alternative. It's not personal. I can just be a little shy. And if you have something in mind that you want to get, then tell me now. Basically, so that that person could tell them in advance, no, I'm not willing to do that. So I would take this and modify it to cover any of the services in that, even if there's something to do with the lap dance that you think is important that they have to know. And it's okay if you don't cover everything now. Once you do a few of these bookings, there might be things pop up that you hadn't thought about. The thing about websites is a website is only useful if there's traffic going to it. And for the most part, the traffic comes from ad sites. So that's why I always start with the ad platforms, because we need it to be up, we need it to be working. Once we can see that that's happening, then we go and update the websites accordingly. And then later down the track is when I'll start implementing strategies around, for example, social media, direct email marketing, where the website becomes more useful again.
Okay.
We're not really at that point, because sure, we could revamp the website, but right now the best way you're going to get people there would be through social media, which is slow. It's a volume-based approach, when at the moment what you really just need is like work. The best way to do that is to be on the maximum amount of profiles with the best version of the profile you can have on each site based on the site's rules, and just be available responding to your phone. I think that if you found a strategy that makes you feel better and clients are doing it, then I would definitely keep doing it. Like if it's working in that it makes you feel better and clients are doing it, then I wouldn't overthink it. Just keep doing it.
There's a market for everybody. So you want to just think about emphasizing what it is about your body that men already compliment. So for some women, it's their curves. For some women, it's their butt. For some women, it's like I have big legs that I actually really dislike, and yet I always got complimented on them from clients. And so like sometimes I would put forward photos that like emphasize that, even though I kind of didn't like it. So that's a multi-point answer, but hopefully that answers the question. It's funny because a lot of these sorts of businesses do start, like, for example, X, like Twitter started very much adult friendly. Fans obviously did to an extent. Now Blue Sky is the latest one. They often start being really free of regulation and policy because that's how they blow up. And then once they do blow up, they start introducing all of it, because for them to get outside funding and continue to grow, they have to become, well, have to is, I guess, one word to use, but it seems that they have to become some level of compliant, and then they go in like basically the Facebook direction, which is kind of what's happening with Twitter now. I don't know if you know, but they're kicking a lot of adult providers off. It seems to be inevitable, sadly.
Yeah, everyone hates us.
Except for the men. They love us.
What do I do if it doesn't work? It's not about, oh, what do I do if it doesn't work? It's why. Well, what part hasn't worked? It'd be like with your oh, I'm not getting bookings. Well, why? Like, there's a reason. You don't just not get bookings. Are you available? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? We have to wait and see what happens. And by the way, it will not be perfect. Like, there'll be issues. Like, except now that it's not going to go perfectly. Like, you'll do it and it'll be like, this isn't working. And then we'll fix that, and so on and so forth.
Make sure you have like a push-up bra so that your like physique is emphasized. But it doesn't have to be specific colors. I do find that white like tends to stand out a little bit more, but black still works, provided like you feel like you look good in it.
Oh, nice. Okay. And then for like the lingerie part, she wears like the red and like bra and underwear. Can I wear like a stripper outfit?
I generally recommend for the GFE style we're going for that you pick something more simple. So kind of like the lingerie she has, or even a little bit more simple again, as opposed to a stripper outfit, because a stripper outfit's going to give like that stripper vibe, and we're trying to create more of a girl next door sort of feeling.
Can I also maybe just do it in case like guys also want, if I could tell them if they want like a stripper dance?
Totally. Definitely, like you can take a range of photos, right? What I don't recommend is putting those photos on the profile right away. Having selfies of yourself in those sorts of outfits, which you use to upsell to your higher priced option. And when you're talking about the service that you just described, that's definitely a good idea, but I wouldn't have it on the profile at this point because we're trying to do the GFE approach.
When I do tours, what I do is I look at like where I am, and depending on how frequently I want to go, whether that be like twice a month or once a month, is kind of like once a month is usually a good thing to start with. If people want to be more aggressive about it, then twice a month or even more. And I map out big cities, like I start closer to my hometown so I don't have to travel as far and spend as much money. And that way I'm establishing a client base that's more easy for me to access to and that are also more likely to cross over into my hometown. So I don't do, like, for example, in Australia, if you're in Sydney, then you could go to Melbourne and be there in an hour, or you could go to Canberra and be there in an hour, or you could even go to some cities that you can drive to and be there in a couple of hours, as opposed to if I jump on a plane and go to the west coast of Australia, which is like a 6 hour trip, and it's less likely for those clients to cross over. So I would do that, sit down and map out cities that are like well populated. And to be honest, even smaller cities can be fruitful because less escorts go there. And so you can be like a big fish in a small pond. And I would map out for the next 3 months where you're going to go and then pre-advertise those places. And you will start getting inquiries for them now. And you can make sure your assistant gets as big deposits as possible so that you can like get extra revenue now and also line up those places and get them fully booked.